brief history of music from origins to the present day. Music has always been an important cultural and social factor throughout human history. It helped people form tribal bonds and often serve religious and spiritual needs. Music has stood the test of time from the prehistoric age till this day. How did music develop throughout the centuries and around the globe? What do different cultures and generations have in common in terms of music? What can they learn from all the different musical genres, style, and approaches the human brain has developed throughout the years? So we will shortly go through the history of music, trying to find an answer these challenging questions. Let's dive into the origin of music. By looking at the behavior of some existing tribal populations, we can conclude that even in the simplest forms of society, music plays a prominent role. This was probably through our ancestors too. Prehistoric men and women probably started making music as a way of imitate the sounds of nature, either for religious or recreational reasons. The first musical instrument ever employed is likely to be the human voice, although archaeologists also found several rudimentary instruments such as flutes dating back more than 35,000 years ago. A few researchers stated that some archaeological finds actually date back to the Neanderthal period, proving that humankind discovered music way before we used to believe. Talking about European and ASEAN ancient music, with the development of writing systems, it became possible to compose music as we do today. First ever written piece of music presented in cuneiform alphabet was found in Syria, and it probably dates back to 3,400 years ago. Researchers were able to find out more about ancient music by studying the drawings on walls, vases, and other objects, deducing that the ancient Greece, for example, instruments similar to modern bagpipes already existed. With this method, they also discovered the existence of string instruments such as the lyre and flutes, the aulos. Some writings of that time also suggested the existence of polyphony. To deepening their knowledge of music in ancient Asia, in India in particular, researchers consulted the sacred Hindu books, the Vedas, which contain precious information about Indian classical music. Ancient music also blossomed in the Middle East, in the Persian Empire in particular, and in Egypt. Hebrews also developed specific musical forms early on, mostly for religious reasons. Now we are talking about the Middle Ages. This is rich corpus of research about there is a rich corpus of research about medieval and Renaissance music. This interest in this topic is still so vivid that lots of contemporary symbols and choirs devote their existence to repertoire of this kind. Medieval music is actually quite trendy on YouTube and mainstream media platforms too, where it is not unusual to find covers of popular modern songs in this historical style. During the Middle Age, polyphony blossomed together with a new notation system that set the foundation for one we'll still use today. About that time, music has mostly devotional, although there was also a secular current mostly dealing with tales of love and cavalry. The most popular instruments in medieval music were flutes, lutes, and dulcimers. From Renaissance to classical music. During the Renaissance, composers laid the foundation that what Baroque music would later become. The development of the counterpoint and the use of chromatism in particular would later inspire Baroque artists such as Bach and Vivaldi. During the Baroque period, in particular, composers started creating music for richer in symbols that would later develop into full orchestra, some forms still in use today, such as the sonata and the fugue were invented during these times. Opera and romantic music. From the 18th to early 20th century, many different composers from Mozart to Beethoven, from Haydn to Schubert, experimented with different forms, melodic ideas, innovative harmonic solutions, and instruments. This classical era involved the development of a brand new singing form that mixed music and theater, still known today in the opera. Symphonies also became very popular. In this wide time span, various currents and sub-genres flourished. One of the most known and loved current today in romantic music, brought on by Chopin, Schumann, Brahms, and many others. Then jazz and blues. Outside Europe, in the Afro-American communities, a brand new approach to music, inspired partly by the African traditions, that partly by the Christian religion, took over and shocked the norms. Jazz and blues set an important foundation for all the other contemporary genres, just as European classical music had done before. Based on improvisation and a clear call and response structure, jazz songs soon took over the mainstream and remained solid protagonist up until the 60s through a lot of different currents and subgenres such as bebop. Then we are on the rock and pop music. Throughout the 50s, the revolution happened. Rock and roll appeared and blasted the music scene. Originating directly from the blues form, rock and roll became a great trend and influenced many different aspects of culture and society. It also became a strong foundation for countless other genres and subgenres, extending the realm of pop music. Groups like Beatles, for example, work as a bridge between these two worlds that were often overlapped in their songs. Other bands like the Rolling Stones instead made their classic bluesy rap sound a trend. And then we are now on electronic music. The development of new technologies and computers allowed artists to approach music in a whole different manner. They no longer had to play an instrument to compose a tune. They could just use a piece of software on an electronic device to deliver. In today's mainstream music, electronic tools and resources is very present, although the song structures from a musical point of view still maintain the standards of classic rock and pop music we have heard since the 50s. The only downside to this is that it takes away from the creativity and artists have and put it into their music by using instruments. The process of creating the whole song using instruments should be more appreciated. However, in this day and age, that is not the case for most people. So the conclusion of this brief and concise history of music from origin to present, that this short summary of history of music leaves many questions still unanswered. After all, we would need to write a series of books on the topics to be as complete as possible. What we can understand, however, in how music is a recurrent aspect of our lives and societies. keeps changing, but it evolves, always maintaining points of contact with its past. Just like a city first built an ancient time and then constantly developed throughout the years. Music is never the same as it was when it began, but still shows the solid foundation. I think that would be all. And this is Cedric A. Borres. Thank you very much.